Hi queens, welcome back to my channel. On today's video, we will be learning how to make this two-step gathered fitted gown. On the sleeve, I did some alteration. Instead of making it a short sleeve, I made mine a long sleeve with a sequence at the end of the sleeve. And this video is highly beginners friendly. So if this is something you like to learn, let's get started. Thank you. So first off, I will be working on the upper bodies. That is the shoulder to the full length of the upper bodies before we proceed to the gathers. Now for the upper bodies, here are the measurements needed. The shoulder line, the chest line, bust point line, under bust, waist, and the hips. Then the full length of the bodies. But the under bust measurement is not really required for this style. I just put it there. You can go ahead and just ignore it. So right now I'm just going on to highlight that pencil with my marker. But if you know you are not yet an expert, just use pencil, because even me, I made mistake in the lines like you see right now. I'm trying to correct the line. So after I was done highlighting with my marker, I went on to impute my shoulder measurement on my shoulder line. So I divided my shoulder by 2. My shoulder was 15. So I divided it by 2, which gave me 7.5. I added half inch, which is 8 inches. And I just marked it there. And right now I'm trying to determine my depth for the neck. And to get that, the standard measurement for the neck is 3 inches wide and 3 inches depth. But for this tutorial, for this style, I want the neck to be very tight. So I'll be using 3 inches wide and 2.5 inches depth. That was what I ruled over there because I wanted it to have a tight. I wanted my neck to have a tight fitting. So that was why I used that measurement. I went on to get my armhole line. So this dress have a yoke, which is also my chest line. So I went down to get my armhole line. And for this dress, I did not eliminate any excess around my center point of the armhole. I just went on to, just cut it out like that. But you can go ahead and eliminate at the center point of yours if you want. So right now, I'm just imputing all my basic bodies, my measurements. My bust point divided by 4. I added my waistline, all my hips measurement, and I just added 1 inch allowance to it. I came onto my hip line. I added all my measurements. And I'm just connecting all those marked line with my rule, my French curve ruler, all the way to the end. And right now, when I was done, I cut it. I just went on to cut it. And I cut out my yoke, which is also my chest line. I cut it out. So when I was cutting out my lines, my paper was not long enough to accommodate my full length. So right now that I've gone ahead to cut it out on my made fabric, and I added 2.5 inches to it to get my full length. So right now I'm trying to determine the sequence design. I'll be using, this is the paper I used to cut it, and this was actually how I got it. So I am just trying to determine how deep I wanted it to be. For the depth, I used 16 inches. So I just created a slant into my armhole line. I just created a slant using my ruler. I created a slant into my armhole line. So that was how I got my. So at this point, you can just be creative with any design at all you want to get. So this is just how I did it. So right now I'm using my front piece to cut out the back. So for my back depth, I came down by 1.5 inches and I'm just cutting it out like you see me do right now. So guys, if you've watched to this point, please give this video a like, drop a comment, subscribe to this channel. I have lots of amazing tutorial coming up very soon. So I went on to label my yoke, and this yoke is actually for the front. Just the front has a yoke, the back does not have a yoke. So right now I'm trying to eliminate my zip bulge, and I came down to the waistline and I extended the lines from the front to the back, from the chest, from the waistline to the chest line too. And from that waistline, I went in by 0.75 inches for my zip bulge, and I went up by 0.5 inches. And I just connected those lines from the up downwards using my rule. And right now, I'm just cutting them out. I don't really need that line. I'm cutting it out. So right now, I'm cutting out the shape I used for my sequence, and I'll just be using this to cut out on my sequence fabric right now. I'll take this over to the machine. I'll just place this and cut this out off camera. I have transferred all this to my fabric right now, so I don't want this video to be too long, so that is why I just had to do everything off camera. And you see how beautiful that sequence is. I've also gone ahead to cut out my lining for the back and the front. Right now, I'll set this aside so I can focus on the sleeve part of this dress. So I folded my paper into two. You don't have to fold your paper into two. I just folded mine into two. And this sleeve is a very long sleeve. Like it exceeded my wrist, it came down to my hand. And the measurement I used for this sleeve was my shoulder line, bicep line, my elbow line, then my wrist line, and my full length. I came down 5 inches from my shoulder line, which gave me my bicep line, and then I just ruled out all my lines. So queens, if you want me to make a very detailed video showing you how to make a perfect sleeve pattern, just let me know in the comment section and I'll make a very detailed video on how to achieve a sleeve. On my shoulder line, I came out by 5 inches. And on my bicep line, my bicep is 6 inches. And I added 1.5 inch for allowance. Because I'll be using a veil net, a non-stretchy veil net for this sleeve. So I need it to be able to accommodate my armhole. So that was why I added 1.5 inches. So right now, I'm just imputing my elbow and all my basic measurements. I took my round elbow measurement divide by 4 and added 1 inch for seam allowance. My wrist measurement divide by 4 and added 1 inch for seam allowance. The measurement I have on my wrist is 5 inches. I went on to add 2 extra inch to that, which is 7 inches, and I wrote that on the full length of this sleeve. So I will be able to create that bell shape. And that is the shape that shape is going to carry the sequence lace, just like the sequence design on the front part of the main dress. So I am done drafting this sleeve and it is time for me to cut it. So guys, if you've watched this video to this point, please give it a like, subscribe to this channel and drop a lovely comment. So right now I'm about to cut this out and I'll just go on and place this on my veil net and I'll cut this out. So I didn't add any allowance to this. I didn't add any allowance. I just walked along with the exact measurement I got from the sleeve. I cut two pieces for each end. That is, I have 4 pieces over there for the veil net. Everything I cut was 4, 2 for each sleeve. Right now I'm cutting my sequence. So this particular sequence actually stretches a lot. So I added a tiny allowance to it so it doesn't end up affecting the actual measurement. So I'm done cutting all of this up. I noticed when I was drafting on the pattern, I was blocking a lot of things, a lot of views. So right now, I'll just be making a brief summary on what I was doing. The measurement I used for this dress was my shoulder to my chest line, bust point line, under bust line, waistline, hips line, and the full length. The full length of this dress is 34 inches, and I added 1 inch for extra seam allowance. The front part of the dress has a yoke and a bold sequence design in front of the dress, which I went on to top stitch. Now I'll be placing the yoke onto the body with a pin. I will take that to my sewing machine and I will just run a stitch on it. I will be stitching this separately with the lining. I'm not stitching them together yet. So I will also do the same thing to my lining. I will take it and I will stitch them separately. For both the lining and the main material, I will be stitching this by 1/2 inch. So I'm just trying to do everything here so that when I get to my sewing machine, everything will just be easy. I won't be coming back to the table to continue. This is the back part and I will just be attaching my zipper to it. But before attaching your zipper, ensure that the both right sides are facing each other because I'm the madam of that kind of mistake. So please avoid double work. Right now, I'm going to determine the depth of my zipper on my fabric. And to get that, I will be placing my zipper onto my fabric and I will measure 1 inch above the end point of the zip. From that marked line, I will place the other part of my back and go in by 1 inch. I will use my pin to secure this in place and stitch from the marked line all the way to the end of the dress.
And I'll just be going in by 1 inch. And I'll stitch this line down. From this point, I'm just going to stitch it down. Take it over to my machine now.
I will also be pinning down my zipper to the dress so that I will take everything to the sewing machine and just finish them up instead of coming back to the table.
My needle will not have any connection with that iron on the zip. So I'm just going to pin this down now and take it over to my machine. And I'll just stitch it all the way. So when I have to pin this down, I'm just going to take it over to my sewing machine and I'm going to be stitching it there.
Now for the lining, I came up by 2 inch. So remember, for the main fabric, we actually came up by 1 inch above the end point of the zip. But for the lining, we are coming up by 2. But you can as well go ahead and make it the same. But I just feel like doing my 2 inch above. And I will be stitching this separately. They are not going to be together. I want to stitch it separately because I need a neat finishing. So here is my sleeves, and remember I have 4 pieces here, 2 for each sleeves. So I'm just going to be pinning down my sequence to the veil so that when I just get to the sewing machine, I will just run through everything together. So guys, thank you so much if you have watched to this point, and I'll see you on the sewing tutorial. Bye.